All right, guys, breaking news today. We got more Bitcoin being scooped up than we can actually mint, right? I'm gonna tell you what that equates to. Crazy breaking news. Also, we got Bitcoin analysts saying that Bitcoin could go to 6,000 before we potentially see turn to the upside. I'll tell you about that. Legendary investor Jim Rogers says that Bitcoin will go to 0. This guy is legendary. Used to have a fund with George Soros called Quantum Fund. It did 4,000% gains in like 10 years compared to, I don't know, 22% of S&P or something like that. So somebody listen to, but I'll give you my insight on that one. And lastly, 41% of businesses in America that were closed due to coronavirus are closed permanently. What does that mean? Stay tuned.
Don't you know, they're talking about a revolution that sounds like a whisper. Don't you know, they're talking about a revolution that sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and get their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's theirs. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution, oh, while they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. And finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution, oh no.
Okay, first up, Grayscale has now close to under 400,000 BTC under their Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. What does this mean? Well, this means that in the last 8 days, there was a whopping nearly 20,000 Bitcoin deposited into Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. That's nearly $185 million in value, right? This is tremendous. So is Grayscale really buying all these new coins? Independent cryptocurrency researcher Kevin Rook has estimated that Grayscale bought 3 times the amount of BTC that was mined over the same period of time. Only 7,000 coins were minted in the last week, which brings the total amount of Bitcoin introduced into circulation since May supply cut to 39,544 BTC. So looking at this chart here, this shows you the new Bitcoin accumulated by his Grayscale Trust since the halving. That's this orange chart over here, and the green is the Bitcoin mined since the halving. And you can see on this top part here, there's tremendous amount more acquired from Grayscale than we are mining. I mean, and just look in this past week, 20,000 of nearly the 55,000, 54,000 or so that Grayscale has since the halving have been just in the last week alone. Tremendous. What does that tell you? It tells you institutions are acquiring, buying, and way, almost 3 times faster than we can mint them. Incredible, right? So you don't have to be a genius to understand what this means, right? Supply and demand. The demand is obviously increasing tremendously, and the supply, well, we know Bitcoin has a very limited supply, and it's predetermined at what that is, right? So this is tremendous news. So next we have Bitcoin dropping to 6,000 golden pockets isn't bearish, says trader, right? So this is talking about a classic Fibonacci retracement, which could land BTC USD at $6,300 or even lower and still not disturb the long-term trend, right? So what is he talking about here, right? And who is talking about this? Bitcoin can crash to $6,000 and still remain bullish. One trader claimed on June 26th as the largest cryptocurrency tested $9,000 support. In a Twitter analysis, the popular trader known as Steve Crypto offered an alternative to the bearish sentiment coming from markets this week. So this is something that I think is actually interesting, right? Because it shows that, like, I believe that there's a correction coming just simply because of the market conditions and the economy, right? People are broke, out of work, and people just aren't investing. This is why I think we're seeing this, like, otherwise, if the economy was good, we would be well into a bull market, I feel like, right now, just from all the institutional sentiment alone, right? But basically, what is he talking about here, right? What is this guy, Steve Crypto, talking about? So he's looking here at this chart. This is the Fibonacci retracement chart, and it's very easy to understand. Basically, it just shows support here on this line at 63.40, right? And he's saying that it can even drop a little bit further, 6,000, bounce off that support level, and we're still looking good for a bull sentiment or bull run. And I am under the impression that we are still due for one more type of retracement, right? And before we see very bullish territories. And I just think it's inevitable the way the economy is going right now. So he talks about the fact that, you know, that it's very common for us to see something like a 62% retracement versus the previous highs. Is nothing new for Bitcoin and USD. Bitcoin has shown affinity for doing just that in recent times. This time, 63.40 is a retracement relative to the recent highs of around 10,200 seen in early June. In April, Cointelegraph noted the same theory called for a pullback to 5,300, and a month after 2020 lows of 3,600, such a scenario did not play out, right? So this is just one guy's opinion about what could happen. You know, I don't know how low it's going to go. You see right now that Bitcoin's actually pulling back pretty heavy. Right now, 9,050. And there's a lot of things going on right now that could affect the Bitcoin price, right? And so, you know, typically when everyone's bearish, the markets move bullish. I think that's pure market manipulation by big whales, exchanges, things like that. Anyway, we'll have to see. Like, you know, this is just one opinion from one guy. Legendary investor Jim Rogers warns governments will have to eliminate Bitcoin. Okay, so let me just get into this for a minute, right? I'm actually going to read this because it's kind of interesting, but it's actually extremely interesting based on what I've been talking about, right? So I've been talking about the fact that we are going to war, right? And like, this is the people, the powers that be, the elite of the world, the people that control the money supply, they do it through controlling the dollar, and they're not going to let something like Bitcoin just easily surpass the dollar and become a worldwide currency, right? Reserve currency. There have been wars fought for such types of things before, right? So Bitcoin has made its fair share of enemies since it was created a little over 10 years ago. The Bitcoin price soaring to around $20,000 per Bitcoin in late 2017 thrust cryptocurrencies into global limelight, promoting governments to clamp down on the use and companies such as Facebook to create their own. Now, legendary investor Jim Rogers has warned that Bitcoin and similar virtual currencies beyond the influence of the government will not be allowed to survive, and said the Bitcoin price is headed to zero. Yeah, so this guy's old, right? He's like super old, right? And he doesn't really understand Bitcoin. Maybe he does, but I don't think he does, because if he did, he wouldn't be saying things like this. As we know, like, Bitcoin's not going to go to zero ever. unless something else happens. That won't be from government intervention. It'll be from it could be whatever, right? But like, I mean, so let's say there's something fundamentally very flawed in Bitcoin code or whatever, then this could happen, but not because of governments. But anyway, if the cryptocurrency succeeds as real money, rather than a subject of gambling as it is today, the government will make the cryptocurrency illegal and eliminate it, Rogers told Japan's Era. Rogers is perhaps best known for co-funding the Quantum Fund with fellow legend George Soros, and has gone on to establish himself in television and media personality. Bitcoin, still mostly used as an instrument of speculation, has attracted attention in recent months as the coronavirus pandemic has spread and governments have taken extreme action to support their economies, right? The US has allocated almost $3 trillion for coronavirus-related economic aid, and the Federal Reserve has pumped trillions of dollars into US economy. As we know, there's been people like Paul Tudor Jones and Dan Piero, Raoul Pal have named Bitcoin as a potential hedge against inflation unprecedented central bank stimulus measuring could bring, though Bitcoin is still far from being used as real money. Some 11 million Bitcoin, roughly 60% of the current minted supply, has sat dormant for a whole year, according to recent research published by Digital Asset Data, suggesting investors are buying to hold. Let me repeat that again. 11 million Bitcoin, 60% of the supply just isn't moving. Like my Bitcoin, not moving. Most of your Bitcoin, not moving. Right? We are holding, hodling. And that is incredible support for the Bitcoin ecosystem. However, governments around the world, spurred on by China's efforts to digitalize its yuan and Facebook's plan for Bitcoin-inspired digital currency, have accelerated their efforts to take money and spending online. The governments like electronic money, Rogers said, because with electronic money, you can track when, where, who spent what amounts. Governments will have more control over people through electronic money. This is what I've been saying, right? I've been saying that governments want to use private permission blockchains in order to track everything you buy and spend, everything, right? And this is a very dystopian world. This is why we need public, decentralized, open protocols like Bitcoin and Monero to protect our privacy, protect our rights, financial privacy, financial freedom, monetary freedom. Like, it is critical. He's right here, man. Like this Rogers dude is right. Governments do not want to have Bitcoin survive, and they do not want Monero to survive, and they want to be able to digitize all of the fiat because it's cheaper, because it's easier to track, because they can shut it off if you do something bad. They can take the money right out of your account if you don't pay a parking ticket or your taxes. It is scary. The government wants to know everything. Controllable electronic money will survive. And virtual currencies beyond the influence of government will be erased. Many in the Bitcoin community see cryptocurrencies as a way of resisting government overreach, and some fear a proposed US digital dollar could hand more power to the state. Rogers' comments could throw fuel on those fears. The government has something that those who work with the virtual currencies don't have. It's a gun, Rogers said, right? So Rogers thinks that like they're gonna come after us with guns, and I've been saying that we're gonna go to a war, right? So this is very on par with what I've been saying. How much on par? Like, what does it mean exactly? You know, and like I said before, I don't know what kind of war we're looking at here. Is it going to be one with guns or threats of some? I mean, I don't know. Like right now we've got, China and United States economic wars, right? And so, but it could lead to that. Again, this is like what I'm saying. This is very, very real. Like when Bitcoin becomes something that threatens US dollars seriously, like on a traction level, it's going to be intense. You have to think about this. If the governments and the powers that be, the Federal Reserve, central banks, are actually very threatened by Bitcoin, we are onto something. Right? Think about that for a minute. We are onto something. It's great. We're early. You should be excited. Like, this is good news. All right, and last up, 41% of businesses closed on Yelp, having shut down for good during the coronavirus pandemic. So when I first read this, I had to make sure that wasn't just something that was like temporarily closed during Corona times, or this is like closed during Corona times, like closed. And this is 41% of businesses are closed. So yes, the stock market has been thriving, right? But not because it should be, not because it truly represents anything about the economy, right? Because it's been propped up by the Federal Reserve printing trillions of dollars. Trillion is a lot of money. And we still have something like over 20 million unemployed in the United States, probably a hell of a lot more than that. And these businesses are not coming back. This is just the beginning. The second wave is here, or the continuation of the first wave. It never really went away. Protesters and all this out there, it is exacerbating this. I mean, my opinion is that this whole thing, the whole situation is extremely overblown, and we should have never shut down the economy in the first place. But this is what's happening, right? And there's probably some type of alternative motive for this, but anyway, it is what it is. And we are starting to see businesses and things like that shut down again. This is very bad news. So the reason I bring this up is just, again, to support what I've been saying, which is the fact that right now, Bitcoin's value is still made up of a lot of speculation. And unfortunately, it is tied to speculators like people who are playing the stock markets. And I think that we are due to see a major correction in the stock market. And therefore, we're going to see another retracement in Bitcoin's price. But that's okay. I mean, I think it's gonna happen one more time. And when it does, I would encourage you, not financial advice, but it kind of, my opinion, I would definitely buy some at that point. Just me, I'm saying. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. Sorry it's been a while, but I hope to do these daily now. And take care. I will see you soon.